Welcome back to another very British adventure, and in this week's video I'm going to be attempting something that I have never attempted before, so I have no idea how it's going to work. But we're going to be taking our inflatable kayak that I bought from Facebook Marketplace back out on another mini adventure, except this time, rather than find a secluded little beach somewhere to set up camp for the night, this time I'm going to attempt to sleep inside the kayak again, but with all my equipment in the middle of a flowing river at anchor. And I can already imagine some of the questions in your mind, such as, it's a flowing river. What if the anchor drags whilst you're asleep and it takes you downstream and throws your boat over the edge of a weir? Or what if you roll over in the middle of the night and fall into the river? Or if the tent's all enclosed, what if you roll over and capsize the kayak? It's a kayak, they're tippy. What are you thinking, man? Now I imagine by the end of this video, we're gonna be either collectively looking and that was genius, or perhaps more likely, that was the stupidest idea I've ever had in my life. But what I do know is that we're going to be picking up the adventure on the river where we left off last time. And I've never paddled this section of the river. I imagine it's going to be absolutely beautiful. I imagine there are going to be some genuinely dangerous navigational hazards along the way. It's going to be an adventure. And if that sounds like your cup of tea, stick around. Alright, so this adventure picks up exactly where the last one finished up. This is where I got out last time. So I've put the kayak back in the water and straight away we're up against a fairly meaningful obstacle. And it's a weir. And normally when I come up to a weir, I'll take the dinghy out or I'll take the kayak or the paddleboard or wherever I'm on and I'll have a little walk around and port round and then get back in where it's safe. But I've had a walk along the side here and I can't see a way in for quite a long time. It would mean dragging the kayak quite a way. So I'm pretty heavily laden. I'm going to have to go over the top, and I'm sure a more seasoned kayaker would do that no problem. But as I said, I've got a lot of weight and a lot of stuff in here, and no helmet. So we're going to gingerly feed it down, hopefully. Ooh. Right, that's the kayak over. Now I've just got to get myself down, not let go of the kayak, and not fall over. Oh, beautiful. Do you know, it only feels like I was here yesterday. Another stunning day. What a treat. What a treat. We're just leaving the town behind us, now we're heading out into much more rural paddling. It gets super beautiful. Now there are a few potential issues with this challenge, and the first and most obvious one will be, whilst trying to sleep in the middle of a flowing river, how do I stop the boat from drifting away when I'm asleep? An anchor, I'm sure most of you will say, and I do normally have a little grapple hook anchor for this inflatable, which is plenty if I want to stop and do some fishing or have a bite to eat and take in my surroundings, or maybe just stop to change the batteries on my camera. But will that be man enough to look after me whilst I'm fast asleep? I don't know. So I've got another option for anchoring, but it's great in the mud. I'm not sure how well it's going to work in a chalk stream. And as for incidents potentially happening when I'm fast asleep, I am quite an active sleeper, so I've been told. And this is a kayak. So I'm thinking, what happens if I roll over in my sleep? kayaks can be a bit tippy, you know. On top of that, we're going to be cooking inside the kayak. It is an inflatable kayak, so I'm going to have to be careful not to have anything that's too hot touch the sides, or else it could melt and burst and sink, and then I'll be in a right pickle. And then last but not least, how do I sleep comfortably inside the kayak tent, which we kind of figured out last week, with all my gear on board, when the center of the kayak tent wants to sink down into the kayak itself. Some of you actually came up with some great options off the back of that last video, and I've looked into one of them. I think I might have found a solution. I haven't really tested it yet. I'm going to do that today, but it was a fairly cheap Amazon buy that I'm going to try and use to see if we can tackle that. So lots of questions that need to be answered. I tell you what, I've seen so many trout in the water already. From that bridge down to where we are now, which is about 5 minutes of drifting, just everywhere. Just sat in the current. Speeding up. The river's actually getting an awful lot deeper now. The clarity of the water seems to have dropped off, and it's much more muddy. It was obviously crystal clear further up there. That chalk stream was very shallow as well. They're very fast flowing. But it's interesting how the river sort of changes its feel as you progressively moves further towards the coast. And you know, I'm sat here now thinking about it. There's part of me that would actually like to just continue on all the way down to the sea. I'm not going to do that today. It'll take a few days, I imagine, but I just want to know what it looks like all the way down. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, like a multi-video series where we go from where we started all the way down to the sea, and you'd like to sort of check it out with me, then jump in the comments, let me know. If enough people are interested in it, then I'll just keep paddling. This bridge finished in the year 1813. John Dyson, engineer, by Jesse Bushrod Mason. I think on some level, if people are still shouting out your name in public 200 years after the fact, you won. You did something right. Speaking of shouting from the rooftops, the actions of people a long time ago, yesterday was the 80th anniversary of VE Day, Victory in Europe, when our ancestors defeated the Germans. Look, for any German viewers out there, by the way, I love the Germans. You guys are all good now, but you know, back in the day, you know. Anyway, there was bunting being flown everywhere, Union Jacks were up, everyone was in good spirits, street parties, and I'm sure this weekend there'll be a continuation of exactly that. And just for a little moment, you know, there was a sense of, well, certainly where I was anyway, there's a real sense of national pride. I feel like I can hear a weir. My hearing's not very good, you see, but there's no signage or anything. I don't want to just get right up to it and then struggle to turn around and go over the edge. That wouldn't be much fun. Now this is less than ideal. I can't see any way around. I've seen nowhere to get out and port. That looks very slippery. It is confirmed, very slippery. Oh, so that looks super slippery, and then there's a drop at the end as well. Maybe over there. It's hard to explain just how slippery this is. It's accelerating. It's deepish there. I'm sure it's pretty deep over there. And then all the while, the current's trying to drag the kayak off the edge. This is much more of a balancing act than I anticipated. Oh no. not hear that? Level with me. Did you guys hear that before I did in the video? And the sun's coming out too, for good measure. Wonderful. Okay, let's get back on track. Now, just as I thought the going was going good, I hadn't seen a single swan on this mission. And after the last one, I was like, oh, I'd be really good without seeing any swans. And now there's a family of them just perched right in the middle of the river. Hey guys, we've got another blasted tree that goes across the entire river. It's like a tiny little thin channel we might just be able to break through. Hold on. Oh no, no, we're beached. We're beached on the tree. Oh no, gets worse. Tree. Right, we've run aground kind of. And I feel like I've just pushed this swan into a swan fight over there because there's a couple of hostile looking swans. Oh, this is going to be a pain. Unbelievable. That video is definitely not going to do justice to how tricky that just was. Right, we're back. All right, we're through that hurdle. And now we've got one swan that I think I've scared down into a hostile part of the river, being chased by two swans that are basically saying, no, 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 this is not your patch, this is our patch. So, they're already wound up. I'm going to go right. It's all good, we can all be friends. Okay. Lovely. Oh, we're in the thick of it now. Can't see any more houses, hear any more cars. Just this beautiful river which is getting more and more wild with each turn we go around. The flow's picking up again. It's always more fun when the flow picks up. Oh, here we go. So the type of section of river I'm looking for to set up camp is where the river gets quite wide and then also hopefully quite deep, because, well, the reason for doing this isn't just, well, to see if I can I camp the night at anchor and not end up rolling over and falling into the water. That's the main one. But also, when you wild camp, a lot of people worry in the back of their minds that someone's going to come up and get them when they sleep. But if you're in the middle of a river at anchor, I think you could probably at least rule that one out. Tell you what, that both looks and smells lovely. A wood burning hot tub. Oh, that'd be a great way to finish the day, wouldn't it? Sadly, that's not on the cards for me today though, but for some lucky bugger it is. Oh, look at that, listen to that. I have no idea if a GoPro is going to pick that up. That's a mighty Spitfire just flying over the top. The sound of it. Oh, amazing. Do you know what? I'm not a massive fan of flying, if I'm honest. But if I could, before I die, I'd do one of those Spitfire flight experiences, fly over the White Cliffs, just to get a little bit more closer to that amazing part of our history. So that's really cheered me up. I am absolutely starving, so before we go find somewhere to camp, I've actually just chucked the anchor in momentarily, and I'm going to have a little cook up and knock up some lunch, and then on a full belly we'll be able to make some good decisions, hopefully find somewhere just right to camp, and then hopefully we'll be able to get the tent up and just see how it goes. Can we camp mid-river and not roll over and fall into the water? Who knows, but I know I'm going to be making better decisions on a full stomach. And because it is VE day, we have our supplies in a bunting bag from Poundland. No expense spared. Now, in the last video, a lot of you asked me the name of the river that I'm currently exploring, and I said it was the River Stour. And then somebody replied, which one? There are 5. And that was news to me. That was one of those every day's a school day moments. Rather than simply just tell you which River Stour I'm on, I thought we'd make it a little bit more fun. We'll make a game out of it. So I've planted some clues in the drinks cabinet. A dandy dab, cider. Cider on its own should be a bit of a clue, but more specifically, Purbeck cider. If you can't connect the dots after that, I can't help you. So the butcher I got this from said this is so tender it will just break apart bite after bite, so absolutely perfect for what we're making. Oh, I'm so hungry. It's nearly cooked, so I'm going to pop the onions back in, and it doesn't really matter if I run out of gas now because we're nearly there. So next up in the British bag of joy is a little bit of the good stuff. Right, I am feeling suitably full up. I'm going to sleep like a baby, I think. The sun's starting to get a bit lower in the sky, so how about you and I go find a stretch of river where we can set up camp, shall we? Alright, this looks like a good spot to get the kayak all ready and the tent all set up. And this is a nice wide part of the river, it's nice and deep. I think we'll be pretty secure here. Let's give it a go. So my plan is to take out all the kit that I need to set up the camp, and then I'm going to spread everything out evenly across the bottom, because if you remember, the tent likes to dip right in when I set it up. So we're going to spread all that out evenly, and then hopefully then we'll just push back out into the middle of the river, drop the anchor, watch the sunset. This is the Overkill Rockner anchor, Rockner 4-kilogram anchor, and yeah, that's a massive upgrade from the grappling hook anchor that we normally use. So hopefully that'll dig right into the mud here and we'll be good. I've just laid the seat flat down on top of the bag full of gear because there's some sharp edge stuff in the bag, and hopefully this will just take the edge off, as it were. So I hope I may have found a solution for that. Oh, it's going to be a super uncomfortable night's sleep. One of the cheapest inflatable sleeping mats I could find on Amazon. That's not bad, you know. Alright, that's the backup tie-off for the anchor, or the bitter end I suppose would be the appropriate word. It's the anchor spot that I adjust the length to, which will be here. For some reason comes off, pulls off. It shouldn't do. I mean, it's a pretty gentle river, but I've got two tie-offs for the anchor basically. One which is going to be the length that I set the anchor at, and then in case anything happens to that, I've got a backup. So I can't see any reason why something should fail, but you know, better safe than sorry. Here I'm just putting my little poncho, my little waterproof poncho in here, so that when I get from the water into here I don't get everything soaking wet. So I've got a little towel to dry myself right away, and then I'll get changed and get ready for bed. The anchor seems to have dug in. I'm just going to dry myself off and then get ready for bed. This is awesome, just floating on the water, totally comfortable. I've laid out all my kit underneath and got my camera box set up in such a way that kind of acts as sort of a midpoint brace. But it literally, I don't sink into it at all. I'm super comfy. This little inflatable mat has done the job. On some level I can't quite believe I'm sleeping in a kayak in the middle of a river. Yet here we are. A room with a view. Alright, well I'd say so far this mission is proving successful, although we still have to wake up in the morning with the kayak in the same spot, so that anchor needs to hold and I need to not roll over in my sleep and capsize the kayak. But fingers crossed, we should be alright, and I'll be reporting to you first thing in the morning, letting you know exactly how it went. Oh, this is bliss. Absolute bliss. Good morning. Well, I think it's fair to say we can call that a raving success. I actually slept really well, and for a wild camp, I think part of it sort of in your head is because sometimes when you're wild camping, sort of all sorts of noises, which is generally mostly animals, can wake you up because there's a little part of your brain that thinks, you know, somebody be coming and messing with you whilst you sleep. But out here, the chance of someone wading into the water is, I'd say, pretty minimal, but we're in exactly the same spot. That anchor line seems to have held absolutely perfectly. Oh, this is now giving me so many more amazing ideas for river camping, cove camping, estuary camping. There's all sorts going into my head now. There's so many places I want to go and so many places I want to try this out and sort of push the boundaries a bit more. So, oh, this is awesome. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed coming along for the ride. If you like these kinds of videos and you want to see more kayak camping on the water, again, pushing those boundaries out, then hit the subscribe button and come along and join me on some of those adventures, because I feel there's going to be a bunch of them. Right, I'll see you guys next time.